We are back on the FloTrack podcast. FloTrackPodcast@gmail.com is our email address. Subscribe and watch live on YouTube at our YouTube channel. I'm Kevin. He's Gordon. The Olympics are just, about 36 hours away in terms of the track and field action. Gordon, we're talking men's running events today, the final part of our 4-part Olympic preview. How are you?
I'm actually not doing too well. You weren't there, but for those who are listening, yesterday was a company summer offsite, and there was a little drinking going on after last night, and I had a few many, and then I tried to get on a scooter to scoot about 2 miles home, and I fell, and
Don't do that.
I got a lot of bruise. I fell pretty badly, so I feel like I cracked a rib. I mean, I don't think I did because I feel like that would hurt worse than it does now, but I'm in a little pain, not going to lie. So, yeah, when that's how I'm feeling. I fell on a scooter. I even had to take the test. I vividly remember they make you take a test because they assume that you're inebriated because of your movement. And you had to pass a little quiz that they had on the app. And I passed it, but then literally 30 seconds into the ride, head first. It was not good onto the sidewalk. But
Jeez.
I lived to tell another day. I had to make sure I'm around for this podcast. The Olympics start, like you said, in 36 hours. Tomorrow night is the first session. So I'm back. I'm ready to go.
And then we're going to be going, just so people know, live at the completion of the evening session in Tokyo, which is essentially going to be the early morning session here in the United States. So that first day, Friday morning, the men's 10K is the main final. So we'll be going live at 7 a.m. on Friday, and then the weekend slots, it's 8 a.m. and 8 a.m. We'll go for about half hour to an hour, depending on, how much we have to say. Yeah, exactly. Some days there's going to be a lot. Some days there's going to be not as much, but we'll do our best, just like we did through the trials, to recap it. And hopefully everybody tunes in and chimes in, leaves comments in the chat, sends emails. I wanted to start actually with an email prior to this preview, the preview show that we're going to get to. Jeff wrote in with a good question. Basically, he's saying, because he's noticing the first part of the Olympics, you get swimming and then gymnastics, and then you get track in the second half. So he's saying, as an athlete, which would you prefer, Gordon? Do you like it that track is second, or would you prefer track to be first? Because if you compete early, you'd miss the opening. A lot of times they miss the opening ceremonies when there are opening ceremonies. But he's saying you get more time to celebrate after. Now, this is in the world where you're able to stay in the village, which is not the reality right now. Or you compete later in the games, like it is with track and field, and you could go to the opening ceremonies. But then once your event is over, the Olympics are already winding down, and it's probably not as festive.
I would prefer the way it is right now. I think going second is better. I think it's more fun to be part of the opening ceremonies and the closing ceremonies. And I think you can find a way to have a little bit of celebration in the 1 day or 2 days after your event. Or hey, maybe the athlete village is closed down, but Tokyo will still be around. So you can just go to a hotel and do your thing there. So I don't think the potential of swimmers and gymnastics celebrating in week 2 of the Olympics is as valuable as being able to just go to the opening ceremonies and chill in the village and just be kind of rested, getting ready to get ready for your big event. I'd rather have time before my big race as opposed to get it and get done out of the way right away.
And from a spectating perspective, I like that it goes second. And I know there's been some pushback on it because basically you get more media coverage, I think, if you're in the beginning part, because you're still in that Olympic window, where if you win a gold medal on the last day of track and field or the second to last day of track and field, you get to Monday and people are over it. They've moved on. You might get one Good Morning America hit, and that's about it. So I get it from that perspective. If you alternated it and put track and field first, sometimes maybe that you'd see a little bit of a difference there. But from spectating, I like it. I like that track has that stage in the second half. Swimming's wound down. Gymnastics, yeah, it's still going on, but people have already seen that. Track's this new thing that jumps in there in the second half. And you're right, opening ceremonies much better than closing ceremonies. I don't think people usually remember the closing ceremonies. All the indelible images come from the opening ceremonies.
Before we get into the previewing of all the running events, we'll talk a little bit about what your thoughts on the whole Simone Biles pulling out
No,
mid competition.
I kind of do. I don't. I don't.
I do. Well, I
There's
do.
a lot of bad takes out there, and I was just really
I don't
happy
have a bad
that
take.
This wasn't track. This wasn't track.
For the record, I don't have a bad take. I don't have a bad take. I just think it's
Travis tells us to stay on task when we do this show, and you want to jump in right now with Simone Biles.
Well, I was just saying, I guess it would be the equivalent. It's the equivalent of, is it the equivalent of someone being like, hey, I don't want to run the 4x4?
No, I don't think so. It's tough. Okay, so I'll indulge you.
Gotcha.
I'll talk about this. Okay. It's hard to compare this to make a track parallel because something as technically complex as gymnastics really only exists in the pole vault in track and field. Fair?
Yeah.
So and the whole idea of like the team competition where you're competing individually but your score gets added up, it's difficult to draw a parallel to.
True.
So listen, like I don't understand what people are arguing. Are they mad because I know some people are mad and some people are happy, but the people who are mad, are they mad because she pulled out of the competition, or are they mad because she wasn't doing well? Because if you're mad that she wasn't doing well, I think it's pretty clear she's the greatest gymnast of all time.
No one's mad about that.
Right. So then you're mad that she stopped. And if you're mad that she stopped, you have to actually look at how that competition's constructed, and she was hurting the team by being in there. So she tapped out. And everybody's making the football comparisons. I think it would be if Patrick Mahomes just all of a sudden couldn't complete a simple pass in the first quarter and was throwing interceptions and was missing his target. And he said, hey, we're not going to win the Super Bowl if we do this. Take me out of the game. And then they put somebody else in as a backup. I think it's pretty clear, the yips, whatever you want to call it, like something was wrong with her. We don't have the full story on it yet. But her staying in would have made the team's chances worse, not better. That's every smart gymnastics person that I've read in the 24 hours since then has pointed that out. Like that was just the reality of it. So if you want to do a track comparison here, you run the 4x1 at the beginning of the meet. You didn't do well. Things are going poorly for you. You know that the next best person up is going to do better than you in the 4x4. And you say, hey, that person should run. I don't have it. And the reason why you have to say it and not the coach is because if you're Simone Biles and you're the greatest gymnast of all time, that's like Bolt, right? You're going to defer to that person. So she asked out, just like Bolt would have probably had to ask out in that similar scenario. I know it's a stretch. It's not the exact same thing because gymnastics a lot different than the 4x1 and the 4x4 in terms of what can go wrong. But that's how I saw it. I mean, I just think people are trying to make a take out of anything. And
it's the Olympics.
This would drive
have takes.
This would drive me absolutely insane if something similar was happening in track and field. So I sympathize with the gymnastics people who cover this year round and have to listen to this.
Do you know what I think it kind of slightly, just a little bit, is kind of like? I think it's kind of like Ben Simmons in a weird way, where he pulled out of the team Australia for basketball after what happened in the NBA playoffs. Had maybe a type of yips type performance.
Yeah.
He wasn't there mentally 100%. And he probably thought, hey, I probably shouldn't be representing Australia because I'm not in the right framework right now that I was a few months earlier. And I think it's just a unique situation for, like, I think a lot of fans and even non-fans. Typically, we rarely see athletes have a mental injury. It's always like, oh, I twisted an ankle or my arm hurts or someone that, like, we see it. We're starting to see it a little bit in basketball as a Philadelphia 76ers fan. I feel like I've been seeing it a lot with Markelle Fultz.
Fultz, yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
Ben Simmons, and they're both number one overall picks, and for some reason they forget how to shoot occasionally, and they're clearly talented. I think we're not used to mental injuries. That's what I'll call it, a mental injury, as a thing that happens to superstars. And I think it makes us take for granted what it
yeah,
takes
yeah,
to be an all-time great star. Like anyone can be great once, right? You just have a great year, whatever. I mean, but to do something that like Bolt does year in and year out, being able to be the guy who's supposed to win and do it, or Mo Farah, who every year was like, I need to be the 5K, 10K doubler. You know,
yeah,
you see those type of
yeah.
dominances, and you kind of take it for granted that like it takes more than just skill to win year in and year out. You also have to always have the right mind year in and year out, and it's hard to do, especially with pressure. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, and this happens in a lot of different sports. I don't know if you watched Ted Lasso, but the main plot point in the first episode of season 2 was a player getting the yips, which I went on YouTube and did a deep dive. And there are a lot of baseball players who all of a sudden just could not throw the ball to the base, right? And
yeah.
not even a hard play. There's video of catchers who can't just loft it back to the pitcher. Like they lose basic, simple functions that they've done for maybe 20, 25 years. In track and field, Steve Hooker, the pole vaulter, to put in, here's another event, like I said, that's dangerous. He had the yips at a certain point in his career, and it just got incredibly difficult for him to compete. So it's just weird for me. Like if your take is she hurt the team and she let the team down, but what she did increased the team's chances of winning. It sounds like you just made up your mind that you wanted to hate on Simone Biles, regardless of the actual facts and the outcome. Um, and then you put
I mean,
into
that's what sports is. You always hate on the star, right? You build them up and then you tear them down, right? So
right, but there's this desire to paint it as, and if she comes back later in the meet and she competes, then she's putting herself ahead of the team.
yeah, she pulled
Well,
out of the individual as well. So I think
right, but there's like the individual events that she can do too. There's 400
okay.
opportunities to get a gold medal in gymnastics and in swimming. That's what you need. In track, we're like, could they get 2 golds in gymnastics and swimming? It's maybe 7. I don't know, but yeah, like the danger element obviously is unique to gymnastics. There's only a few other sports out
Yeah.
there at the Olympic level that are that dangerous, and then you add in the competitive element and just the idea of like, hey, she was not able to perform on that day. That's why you can sub people in, and that's what she did. But it just, I don't know, man. Everything has to be looked at through this prism of, well, what would Tom Brady do? And I think it's just insane. I'm looking at the chat here. A lot of people chiming in. Someone asked, do we have any update on the news of a Jamaican and American sprinter testing positive for a PED in Tokyo? No, we don't. I don't. I don't know anything about that. That's literally the first thing I read when I saw it in the chat. Should we go to the preview?
Let's preview. Let's
Let's
hit
just
the
preview.
running
Sorry,
backs.
we don't know anything about this. That would be rough, obviously. Um, more later, I guess, if we do find anything out, but I have not seen anything so far. Okay. 100. Men's 100. Trayvon Bromell. Gordon, can he cap his comeback story with a gold medal here in Tokyo? Comes in with the fastest time of the year, 9.77. Only one loss in the last 2 years, and that was Monaco, and he avenged that quickly by winning in Gateshead. Top rivals to him include Ronnie Baker, Akani Simbine, Andre DeGrasse, Fred Curley of the U.S. as well, who ran 96 at the trials. Is this Romel's time for gold, Gordon?
I think so. I mean, I don't see anyone like who's been running as consistently as good as Bromell this regular season.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you have that one Monaco race, which is kind of what everyone is going to put their eyes on to have the justification to say that Bromell won't win or isn't the favorite, because he didn't win that one race. But then if we look at the other 10 or other 9 races, you have to realize, okay, he's more the 9 out of 10 times he's running differently. And
Mhm.
you got to take the odds of 9 out of 10 over 1 out of 10. Now, again, 1 out of 10 happens. 10% chance is a percent chance that
Mhm.
Bromell has a bad start, kind of stumbles, and then you have a Ronnie Baker or a Sabene find a way to take the win, or a dare I say, like a Fred Curley. I just don't think we've seen enough falter from Bromell to give the field the benefit of the doubt. I think the benefit of the doubt needs to go to Bromell right now. And Bromell has the experience, right? It's not like
Mhm.
even though he's never won gold or anything like that, he's won world indoors. He's been to the Olympics. He's got top 3 at a world championships. So he's a vet, and I think when push comes to shove, when he's on that starting line in that final, he'll just put together a solid race. I think he'll run like 9-8 low and win. That's what I think.
Mhm. I I see it similarly. I think that he's actually fairly experienced compared to the rest of this field. People like DeGrasse, who he came up with and he shared the bronze medal with in 2015, has experience, but it's not as if there's a lot of because Usain Bolt was in the event for a lot of years, and then Christian Coleman won gold, and Gatlin. All 3 of those guys are not here. They are not on the start line. There's 11 guys on the start line who have run sub 10 this year, but there's only one guy who's run under 9.8 this year, and that's Bromell. And I think his start really has put Fields away early in every single race except for Monaco this year, and it seems as if he just gets a B start. He doesn't even need his A plus start. That should be enough for him. I'm looking at the rest of this field though, and I have U.S. medal odds at this one at 90%, Gordon, because I think you have to like Baker here as a potential medalist. Trials runner up, he beat Bromell and everybody else in Monaco. Simbine and DeGrasse will be tough. I think they're going to be solid. Simbine's been top 5 the last 3 outdoor championships. Obviously, we know how many medals DeGrasse has. Simbine in particular, your 984 is good. I think it's going to be between those 4 guys for the 3 medals: Bromell, Baker, Simbine, and DeGrasse. When I dug in,
You don't think Fred Curley has a shot?
I think it depends which one we're looking at. Are we looking at Fred Curley in trials and before, or are we looking at Fred Curley in the 2 races after? Because he dropped a couple 10-1s there, which are concerning, because in both of those races, Americans won them. So they were able to rebound from the trials. And I know everybody's recovery is going to be a bit different, but you could throw out one, but 2 of them, it's trending in the wrong direction. So I think bronze would be his best outcome here, but I think there's enough guys there who have proven themselves solid international competitors that I'd put him outside the medals if I had to make a pick.
So people in the chat asked, am I going to bet $100 on Bromell? Like I said, I am betting $100 in every event. For this event, I think I'm going Trevion Bromell is minus 118, which shows he's the favorite. However, to get top 3 for Simbene is plus 105. So that's plus odds. So I think I'm going to put $50 on Bromell winning and $50 on Simbene getting top 3. And then I may parlay it. I'm not sure yet because then I'll give him better odds. But I think I might do 50 on Bromell and 50 on Simbene getting top 3.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on me doing that? Is that a good move or bad move?
I think you should go even bolder and I think you should only bet winners. You could bet multiple winners in one event.
No, you gotta bet top 3s when there's plus money. No, like
you should.
No, like in a pole vault, it's not worth putting all the money on Mondo because you're not gonna make much back. But if you put a lot of money on Chris Nielsen being top 3, you'll make a lot of money. That's what you got to do.
I think Simbine is a good pick. 4th in 19, 5th in 17, 5th in 16, and he's faster this year. I like that pick.
Yeah. That's plus money. You get better odds by putting money
Yeah,
on Sabine being top 3 than odds of picking Bromell to win.
right. And I think Sabine is going to get in the top 3. Also, some other names just to mention here. Lamont Jacobs of Italy, who's run 995. Gift Leo Talela, who's run 994 from South Africa. Yamagata of Japan, running from his home fans, has run 995 this year. And, the veteran, Johan Blake, 998. I see it, as I mentioned, I think those 4 guys are the ones that are going to contend for the medals. Of course, things can happen at the edges as well, too. And I'd be surprised if Bromell doesn't get this done. Cookie
I'd
Monster
say the
asked, do you
two
guys think
people.
Blake has a chance of medaling? I just think
No,
I think he's
Blake's
going to
too
make the
old.
final
He's
for
done.
sure. I think he's going to make the final, but can he get to 998? Is it going to take a 9.8 to get a medal in this race? Probably. We don't know how quick the track is, but Curly 986 for third at the trials. We already know what Sabine ran this year. It's going to take something quick. I don't know if Blake has that top end. I'm looking at the last time he ran. Yeah, he hasn't a 989 in 2010, and then he ran mid 9.8s in 2012, which was his best season where he got this PB of 969. But yeah, I think finals, yes. I think medal, no, for Blake.
I think 2 good long shots to medal that, I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but great bets. Sean Maswangani, the Houston freshman, he's plus
Mm-hmm.
6,600. That's a good chance to get, I mean, if he puts together a crazy 989 type race, he could find a way to be top 3. He's good, right? I don't think he's going to be top 3, but he could be that wild card. And also Divine Odeduru, who hasn't really been the same since his 2019 Texas Tech days. But hey, maybe he puts something together and finds a way to, it's gonna, like, if they do it, it'll be like, oh, we should have seen it this whole time. They clearly had it in them, they just never put it together at the right moment, and now they did. But Divine Odeduru and Masanganwe, the 2 college kids, I think or former college kids for Odeduru, have a chance.
I think you should save your wild cards for the 200 because that's where it always
Okay.
seems to happen. And I think that's where it's shaking out again this year. Now, you got a favorite there in Lyles who won the trials. There were some nervous moments there. You got Kenny Bednarik and Arian Knighton who went 2-3 at the trials. You have DeGrasse. You have Divine Odeduru there, who I think probably has the 5th best chance in this race. And then Joseph Fanboulet, who everybody learned his story during the NCAA championships. But there's just a lot less depth in the 200 on the men's side than there is in the 100. So I think now I know if you're talking about long shots, Divine's not as big of a long shot in the 2 as he is in the 1. But that one to me, it feels like 2 U.S. medals, and DeGrasse always figures out a way to medal, but it's just not as deep. So I could see Odeduru squeaking in there and making some noise. Knighton, perhaps, he's just met every single bar that's been set for him this year, but I got to stick with Lyles for the win, in part because I bet my house on it.
So I made the rankings. We don't have graphics
Oh,
today
yeah, your
because
rankings.
our boy.
Oh, yeah, your rankings.
Our,
Hold on. Yeah, your rankings are insane. So let me just talk
Okay.
about this.
Hold on, but I just want to tell why people aren't seeing them on their screen. Travis, our co-producer, he is in a meeting today. So you just have to trust us when we announce the rankings. You just go to the site and kind of look at them while we talk about them. But the 200-meter rankings that I created as the representative of the official FloTrack rankings, 10th, 9th, 10th, McWalla, 9th, Aaron Brown, 8th, Jareem Richards, 7th, Divine Odeduru, 6th, Sean Maswangawe of South Africa, 5th, Joseph Fambula, 4th, Andre DeGrasse, 3rd, Arian Knighton, and then I put 2nd, Noah Lyles, and 1st, Kenny Bednarik.
Which it makes absolutely no sense. And I'm saying that as someone who's been on the Kenny Bednarik train from the beginning, filmed a workout with Kenny B when he was at Indian Hills Community College in Ottumwa, Iowa. I think he's solid, but he's never beaten Noah Lyles. Lyles has a faster personal best and a season's best, there's literally no reason why he should be ranked ahead of Noah Lyles.
Okay. Let's look at Noah Lyles' top three 200s this year. He's run 1974 at the trials. He's run
where he beat Kenny Bednarik
by only 0.04. Okay.
He beat
then
him.
He ran 1990 in Walnut in May. And then his third
Kenny
best
Bednarik.
time is 1991, where he got second to a high school kid. Remember
that was in the prelim.
We're not counting a high school kid. Yeah, well, it's a race though. It's a race. Okay, so 1974, 1990, 1991. Ready for Kenny B? 1978, 1988, 1990, and then he has a 1993, a 1994, a 1999. The guy has broken 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Noah has broken 21, 2, 3 times. And Kenny has raced Noah head-to-head twice. He's raced him head-to-head twice.
Lost them both.
Okay, he lost, but he didn't get smoked. It wasn't a smoking.
Okay.
It was.
So he should be second behind him. So they've competed against each other twice, and he's gotten second twice. So if you were to make a ranking, you should put the guy who's won twice ahead of him.
Here's the thing. Just because you beat someone twice doesn't mean you'll beat them the third time.
That's true.
And okay,
these should say Gordon's picks. These should say your picks then. These should not be you should not label it a ranking then. If you want to pick
they're a ranking. Hold on. No.
Fine. But there is no legitimate reason why he should be ranked ahead of him. You can pick him, that's fine. I think a lot of people will pick him. Again, I've been on the Kenny B bandwagon since like the jump, since we got those grainy videos of him chasing down people in JUCO indoor 4x4s on 200-meter flat tracks. I've been following his career from the jump, but Lyles should be ranked ahead of him. You want to pick him? That's different. But Lyles should be ranked ahead of him.
I just think that Lyles, you have to admit, even Lyles hasn't had the best of regular season, a regular season that you would expect from someone coming off of running 19.5. Would you agree with that?
Agree.
Okay,
but he's
so
2-0
this isn't 2019 Lyles, right?
This year.
Yeah, 2-0. Okay. So does that?
Okay,
so when we do NBA power rankings, if you just happen to beat the other NBA team, you're guaranteed to always be ranked ahead of them forever? Like,
if you match up head-to-head in track and field twice, especially one meet at the Olympic trials where everybody's going all the way, all out, with no questions, then you should be ranked ahead of them. Now, if a 10 and 6 team, it's a testament. This is not another sport. This is track and field.
If a 10 and 6 football team is 2-0 against a 14-2 team, which team is better?
This is track and field. Keep it on track and field. There's no reason why he should be ranked ahead of him. Like the
reason is his consistency. His consistency, and you need to be consistent to do well in 3-round events.
They've raced twice, and he's 0-2. This is as clear as it could be. I get what you're saying. This isn't the Lyles of old, but that just shows you how good the Lyles of old is because he was slower this year, and he's still ahead of everybody else. Again, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen in Tokyo. Do I want Lyles to win in Tokyo? It depends. Was that house bet I made real or not? People are going to have to decide. I don't know. We'll find out. It's not predicting anything about what's happening in Tokyo to say that right now Lyles should be ahead of him. Based on the season.
Just think
you
we
can't
shouldn't
put the two resumes up. You can't put the two resumes up. It'd be one thing, Gordon, if they never raced against each other for some weird reason, and we were just going on Lyles' past, but they didn't have head-to-heads. But they had 2 head-to-heads where they both were going all out, and Lyles beat him. Beat him close. It's close, but he beat him twice.
Yeah, he beat him close. What about depth, though? You don't think having 6 sub-20s means something when the other guy only has 3 sub-20s?
Is it
double?
No.
He's doubled.
Not when you're racing against each other. We've seen him. We don't need to go to that as a tiebreaker because we have the apples to apples comparison. They lined up together twice. And okay, maybe if Bednarik had run not against Lyles and had dropped in 19.5 this year, maybe since the trials, if he had run something faster, but Lyles still has the fastest time in the world this year too. This one, again, I ordinarily
You
don't.
mean dropped in 19.5? Oh, you mean how Kenny B ran 1965?
It wasn't win legal.
Okay. But Kenny B can't control the wind.
Hold on. No. You are the biggest win times don't matter guy. You're not going to spin this around. Plus 4.0 and ran the 1965. We're talking about win legal times. He has the fastest time of the year. You're wrong. But let's move
But
on to
when
something
you,
we agree. Let's move on to something we
I
agree.
bet people in the comments don't agree with what I just said.
Well,
But
okay, here.
hey,
Logan says, I usually agree with Gordon's takes, but this
1965.
is too. You're losing people who ordinarily agree with you. Logan says he usually agrees with you, but this is too far. Kurt says, agreed.
Okay.
Sorry, Gordon, you're wrong here. Anthony says, no,
Well,
Gordon, it does not. Asafa Powell has the most sub 10s and never won a gold at any global championship. Yeah, I'm
that was a good
gonna
point.
say we're gonna wave the
I
white
like that
flag
take.
on
Whoever
your
said that.
behalf. I'm gonna
Oh
wave
no,
the
it's
white
Kenny
flag on
B
your
is
behalf.
plus 500 for gold, and I'm putting all $100 of that event on Kenny B, and I will
I
then
don't.
be winning $500, and I will then use that $500 to put an offer on your house. That's what I'm going to do.
Look,
Take your house from
I
me.
don't. I think that's a great decision not to take my house, but like given the odds, that's a good bet. That's a good bet given his resume. I'm just saying ranking him and picking him is fine. I'm just saying ranking him number one is totally different. I think DeGrasse is going to get a medal here because DeGrasse always figures it out. Knighton is a bit of a wild card because, man, he just does not seem phased at all by the pressure, and he's been running a pro schedule, pro season. He went to Hungary and jumped in that 200 with DeGrasse and with Bednarik. So he's not racing this season like a high schooler. He's racing this season like a young pro. So I'm interested to see what he does. And then I think
Who won that? Who won that race in Hungary?
uh, that was Bednarik. Bednarik won the race in Hungary.
Bednarik?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
DeGrasse beat him in Doha earlier in the year, though. So he does have a loss to DeGrasse.
I'm just
if
giving
you
you a
want
hard
it.
time.
Yeah. Sarah says no one ever agrees with Gordon. Yep.
Hey,
Cookie Monster says Gordon making bets is like doing charity.
hey, if you want to just always take the opposite bet of me, and then we'll see who comes out with more money, go for it, and then I'll gladly help you make more money by picking the opposite of what I go with. But we'll see.
Let me ask you this question. Last thing on the men's 200, which by the way, I have 95% medal odds for the U.S. in that one. Do you think somebody can win, or do you think somebody can medal in this event this year who hasn't gone under 20 seconds so far?
Under 20 seconds legal. What you saying?
Yeah.
I mean, who are we thinking that would be?
Well, this isn't a trick question. I'm just asking you in general, do you think it's possible?
I mean, yeah, Sean Massaganwe, he's only won 2010. I could see him maybe medaling.
Okay, you did too much research. I was talking about it more generically, not looking at specific people, because only 6 people in this race have done it. It's the 6 we've mentioned. The 3 Americans, DeGrasse, Fanboulet, and Odaduru. It just limits the pool pretty quickly when you think of it like that. And we don't have a lot of, like the 3 Americans, none of them are coming back from the 100, and DeGrasse has been a solid doubler throughout his career. I don't think we're going to see a lot of drop off from people in, stars in the 100. This isn't 100 dependent is basically what I'm saying. So if you think, hey, it takes sub 20 to win, and you've had to have shown that you're a sub 20 guy prior to the Olympics, then you're already down to 6 people, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay. 400. Men's 400. This is going to be close. We got this email. It was when Lincoln was co-hosting about how you guys were basically disregarding, or Lincoln probably in particular, the 400 meter field, and in particular, Stephen Gardner. And I agree with this emailer here, because when you actually dig into Stephen Gardner's, you don't have to dig very far into Stephen Gardner's resume to see, oh man, this guy has basically matched everything that Michael Norman has done. He's got a good 200 PB. He's only 3/100ths off of his 400-meter PB. He got the gold in Doha. He hasn't been running out of this world times this year in 2021, but neither has Norman. So I think Gardner's going to be tough to beat. They've only raced against each other once this year. Gardner won. That was that race in Hungary when Norman finished third to Gardner and Bryce Deadman. So far from a lock here. I would probably still pick Michael Norman just because I feel like he's got another level to go up. But I think Gardner is going to be a factor. I think Zambrano, nobody's talking about him. Again, he's been in the 44s a bunch this year, as have everybody else, but he was silver in Doha. He's only lost once this year, and it was to Norman. And then you got veterans like Van Niekerk, Karani James, Isaac McWalla in the mix. But this thing is open, and I just don't know. Randolph Ross is the only sub 44 guy this year. Are we going to see a sub 44 or sub 44 in Tokyo?
I think we will, and I think Norman will be that guy who runs sub 44. To the disrespect of Gardner, the supposedly disrespect of Gardner, he won in 2019. He beat Norman head to head in Europe. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
All right. Beating Norman in 2019 means nothing. Norman was hurt. Right. So cool.
Well, he didn't make the fight. He's just saying he won gold. He won gold in 2019.
He won gold, but like
that wasn't about beating
Norman. But like, I'm not going to hold that. I'm not going to hold that against Norman because he was hurt. So, and then the loss that he took in Europe after the trials, he also lost to Bryce Deadman, who he smoked at the trials. And a lot of those Americans were there for one thing and one thing only. It wasn't to run track and field. It wasn't to throw track and field. It was to collect a check. And you just got to show up and go through the motions. Now, again, the pros, they're going to put an effort in there. But, like, I feel like that entire track meet is like, the last week before the NBA playoffs. Yeah, you're still going to go and try to get your 20 points or whatever, your 10 rebounds, but you don't really give a shit if you lose. You just are there to collect your check. And I think we can say this about Clayton Murphy with the way he performed in Europe. I don't think that really is indicative of how he's going to perform at the Olympics. And I think you could say the same for a lot of these sprinters, especially Norman. That third place to me was just got off a plane. I'm here. Cool. I just don't want to get hurt. I'm not going to push myself. I know what I can do.
Yeah, but Bryce Deadman just got off the plane too. I mean, Bryce Deadman just got off the plane.
Yeah, but Bryce Deadman had a lot more reason to prove himself. Bryce Deadman got off a plane after not making the Olympic team. That's a little different from the guy getting off the plane after making an Olympic team. Kate Grace didn't make the Olympic. Kate Grace would not have run. Sorry, Kate Grace would not have run 158s and 157s if she made the Olympic team. She would not have done that.
Norman just always seems locked into me, though. I don't think he's a guy to do a throwaway race. All I'm saying with Gardner is I think he's equal to Norman at this point. We speak of Norman. I'm 100% guilty of this. I'm not putting this on you, or I'm not putting this on Lincoln. We speak as if Norman is the shoe-in for this, and it's not true. And maybe if he ran a couple tenths faster at trials, it would look a little bit different, because when you go in with a 43.8 as opposed to a 44 low, our mind just immediately puts way more stock in that, for probably unnecessarily so. But Gardner's proven himself over the last several years that he's always in the, like, going back to 17, he was silver to Van Niekerk in 17. We don't remember that because all we talked about was Van Niekerk's double. And then we go to 19 and all we talk about is Norman's injury. Meanwhile, he's just been steadily piling up the medals and piling up the fast times and doing it consistently. And from an American perspective, obviously, we've been following Norman since the trials in 2016, perhaps even before that, as a high schooler. So I see why that's where it went. And also, when you run 43.45 in April at Mount Sac, it's natural to ask the question of, are you going to break the world record later on this summer when you open with a 43-45? I mean, that's not overkill. I'm sorry. It's not. So I think that Gardner's right there. I think Norman's going to be, I think Norman can win. I would pick him to win because I think he's measured out his races more strategically this year and measured out his effort over the course of the year. Rather, I talked about how Ry Benjamin was discussing how the coach held them off of working out with each other to keep each other fresh. But I think it's going to be a complete dogfight for gold, and any size victory is a good victory here.
Right now, the odds makers put heavy favorites on Norman, Van Niekerk, to be your top three. I don't think Van Niekerk is going to medal. So I'm trying to figure out who I really think will be top three with Gardner and Norman. Like, is it Michael Cherry? Is it Randolph Ross? I don't know if it's Ross. I feel like he's going to have a little bit of rookie mistakes. Zambrano, maybe?
You got a lot. Zambrano, I like, and his odds to win are pretty. What are his odds to win?
Plus 1,800.
Yeah. Again, if I was a betting man, which you're the betting man here, not me, plus 1,800 on a guy he's been really solid. If you go and look at his record, I think you just have so many low 44 guys this season in there, mid to low 44 guys in there that it's tough. I guess I would say, Norman, Gardner, Zambrano would be my trio. I mean, Van Niekerk though could factor in. I think he'll be on the outside of that. Cherry's been solid. McWallah's run 44 mid. Karani James has quietly been putting together a good last couple of years, but I would have Zambrano for the bronze.
Zambrano. All right, he's plus 250 to medal, so maybe I should go with that.
Plus,
I don't know. I plan, for those listening, I plan on announcing my picks at the end of every podcast going into. So at the end of this podcast, I'll announce my day one official bets that I'll be placing. Yeah. And then I'll do that every podcast. So you guys can know where I might be losing all my money for and cheer against it.
This event and the next event that we're going to talk about, the 800, have the greatest possibility of an entirely different top three than you anticipate.
Yeah.
I think because all it takes is one injury or one issue and then a couple underperformances. And we just haven't seen the huge breakout, the separation type performances in the quarter this year. 800 time?
Let's do it.
This race is a doozy to figure out. So you have Nigel Amos in there as the top seed, fastest time, 1:42.91 in Monaco, which he's won repeatedly throughout his career, but he's only he's only made one final, since the 2012 Olympics when he ran that 1:41 and finished runner up to Rhodesia. You have Career in there, also fast time in Monaco. Clayton Murphy won the trials, ran 1:43 low, got the bronze medal from 2016. Marco Arop of Canada, third in Monaco. Jesus Lopez, who's run really well this year, took Brazier to the line, ran 1:43 mid. Ferguson Rotich, Michael Cerrone, Patrick Dobick. You got Bryce Hoppel, who was fourth in Doha. We just don't know. No one here has put together the complete season, and then you add in the fact that it's the 800 and it's wild. This could be a 2017 type 800. I think it is going to be a 2017 type 800 where we have an unexpected race and a surprise winner.
So if you look at my rankings, they're not just my rankings; they're the FloTrack rankings.
Oh, let me see. I haven't looked at these. Do you have? Kenny Bednarek won in the 800. Okay, that's interesting.
I want to get your reaction to seeing the 800 for the first time. What are your thoughts?
Michael Cerrone. Okay, that's a choice. Let's see. Well, read these through so everybody can.
Okay, I'll read it. So I have Michael Cerrone 1, Clayton Murphy 2, Ferguson Rotich 3, Nigel Amos 4, Marco Arop 5, Career 6. I have Patrick Dobick 7, Elliot Giles 8, Tuca 9, Lopez 10. So only one American in my top 10. I think Clayton Murphy is going to medal. I don't know if I can see him winning. I can see him getting second and third. I just don't see him getting fourth or worst. So I think Murphy is going to medal. I think Rotich has been very consistent. I think he's the most consistent runner this season. So that's why I put him as a medaler. I put Amos and Courier on the outside looking in because while they're 142 guys right now, they could probably run 141 in a crazy race. I just don't see them putting it together in the third round of 3 races. They are really good at Diamond League type 800s. I don't think they're that really good in third round type races. So that's why I have Courier 6 and Amos 4. And I look at Michael Cerrone, and if you look at his season, it is
not much.
Pretty good.
Didn't race much.
It's pretty. He hasn't raced much, but let me bring up. Where is he?
He won the Kenyan trials.
His season's best is 70th right now, but he won the Kenyan trials, which is a win over Rotich and Courier, 2 legitimately good guys.
Yeah,
and then he's been in it. He won the USATF Grand Prix. He got second in the Golden Games. He has been able to find ways to have a really good kick and put himself. I just feel like he's going to be like Pierre Boss. He's going to find a way in a slow 800 to kick in that final 200 and pull away from the field. He has the speed. We know what he can do. He splits 43s, 44s in 4x4s. And he won the Kenyan trials. Like, that means something.
I think we might need to go even farther off the board in terms of who could win this. I look back.
Really?
If we're going to go the parallels to 2017, Boss had only run 3 800s, and his season best was 144.7. He was just getting beat at Diamond Leagues. I mean, he was running them. He was fine. He wasn't falling off the face of the earth or anything like that. But it might come from someone even less credentialed than Cerrone.
Well, Cerrone's not even that credentialed. He hasn't really done much internationally yet. But so, who are you thinking? Are you thinking of someone? Are you thinking of someone?
Cerrone ran into Courier when they were teammates at UTEP. I think that's a pretty good line item on your resume, and knocked him out of the NCAA championships. Am I thinking of anybody in particular? Does the name Isaiah Jewett ring a bell? No, I don't know. When you have Amos, who's really good at a Monaco Type 800, which we don't think this is going to be. But he's not good at rounds. As I mentioned, he's only made 1 final since 2012. Something always comes up. Either he doesn't make the final or he's a late scratch, doesn't stay healthy. Then you have someone like Murphy, who's really good at rounds, but we've seen the last couple races in Europe haven't gone well for him. So is there someone who's in between that? Is there someone who's in between the pretty good at rounds, but also able to run a good one-off, and who would that person be? Is it like a Cerrone or an Arop or a Lopez, or is there somebody else farther down the list? I don't know. I threw that out there without actually having anybody in mind. But
I mean, that person who's right halfway between both is Ferguson Rotich of Kenya. Okay. He finds a way to be consistent in rounds. He makes finals, and he can run a fast 800 here or there. So that's why I have him as kind of medaling. I just think it's going to be heavy on the round runners and not heavy on the time trial runners. And I do think it would be different if Donovan Brazier was in this race. I think Donovan would pull in one of Courier or Amos to a medal. Because I think Donovan would have ran 142 in the final, a healthy Donovan, of course. And if that happened, then one of Rotich or Murphy just kind of gets in over their head and falls back to 4th or 5th. Kind of like the 2012 final where Nick Simmons ran out of his mind, but there's just too much going up front to even be in the conversation for a medal. So without Donovan, I think we're just going to see the Cerrones and Murphys find ways to medal.
Boss wasn't the favorite at all in 17, and that era was all, all the talk was Rhodesia prior to that, and even after that a little bit. Hey, is he gonna be able to get back into form? But Boss was good. He was making finals. He was he was fourth at the Olympic Games in 2016, fifth in 2015, seventh in 2013. So to your point, just someone who's been knocking on the door and in the mix, and then finally they take advantage when the race opens up. So he was fourth the year before he was world champion. Do you know who was fourth in 2019?
Who?
Bryce Hoppel.
Yeah, Hoppel. I don't. Hoppel would be a boss type move,
Well,
because he has a little bit of the credentials. He's shown that he can run a fast 800, but his regular season has just been kind of shit for what he's used to been doing compared to what he did in 2019. So for him to all of a sudden, in the most important week of his training, he finds a way to get back to peak Hoppel. That would be very impressive.
well, you're right. He was so consistent. And even into 2020, won U.S. indoors, ran that 143 in Monaco, was second to Brazier, ran out of gas a little bit, and then 2021 comes. He looks solid early season. He beats Cerrone, gets third at the trials, 144-1, gets through, but then 11th in Monaco with a 147, and then fifth with a 145. I'm not counting him out though entirely. I'm not counting him out with
Well,
that
yeah, you
European
can't
jump.
count. It's the European. That's good. I just think it's the 800. The craziness is going to happen, and when I made my rankings, I predicted this type of craziness. I predicted the craziness of the two 142 guys in Amos and Career not finishing top three. That was my path I chose, but I could be
Kurt
completely
says
wrong. It could be a different path.
Kurt says if you go with Gordon methodology, Rocic has 4 times faster than Cerrone and run 8 times for Cerrone 4. So Gordon should choose Rocic. There you go. Change your pick. So
So
Kenny
no, you
Bednarik
can.
in this situation is Ferguson Rocic, and yet you're picking Michael Cerrone, Noah Lyles. That's what he's saying. It's
When
okay.
I did
You don't need
these types of
you don't
things,
need to
talking
explain
about
yourself.
depth and stuff, I had different algorithms based on the event for what it's worth. I treated sprint events different from distance events. And 800 was a unique in between of both distance and sprint. So that's why it didn't come out the way it did. So just,
I think the bottom line
and I
here,
did a little bit of what?
nobody separated themselves. Nobody separated themselves. There's
Yeah,
no you
yeah.
could
There's no,
argue you could have a really really long unproductive argument about the men's 800, but it would be very long and very unproductive because you'd just be saying which 144 is better and this person beat this person but also lost. It's a complete mess. The only one like indisputable fact you could say is Amos has the best time of the year. But if you want to pick Amos based on past results, then there's obviously a risk there as well too, because we know how he's been in recent championships. Men's 1500. Let's keep it moving, Gordon. Men's
well,
1500.
let's go back to the sprints. Let's do the hurdles and the
Oh,
relay,
you
and
already
then
the
we'll go to
hurdles?
1500. Yeah.
Okay,
Let's go to
people are
110s.
waiting for the 1500. All right. Grant
Well,
Holloway
make him keep
is
Grant Holloway.
a big favorite. Grant Holloway would have been the favorite. He's an even bigger favorite now that Omar McLeod is not in the meet. World record obviously in play, just needs to PB, and he will get it. 1281 in the semis at the trials. He has a world record indoors, undefeated this year. Medal contenders, you'd have to look at Izumiya of Japan, Levy of Jamaica, Ortega of Spain, Belosien, and Martin Odegaard of France, Shubenkov, authorized neutral athlete, and then Allen and Roberts from the U.S. But I think at the very least, I think Holloway's going to break the world record, but I think at the very least, he's going to go under 12.95. And if he does that, no one in this field will be able to run with him.
Yeah, let's see what the odds are for him. Minus 335. I mean, you could go really
Yeah, that's
just
not.
lean in hard and be like, he's definitely going to win. and put like $1,000 on it to make a couple bucks. They don't have a prop bet yet of world record or not world record. Maybe there's somewhere else, but the place where I'm going to place my bets doesn't have it. Yeah, I mean, Holloway's going to win. I was talking to a friend about gambling on track, and he was saying, like, I got to find the really heavy favorite who falls apart and then pick against it, right? And his suggestion was Grant Holloway. And I was like, that's the wrong favorite to pick
What?
against.
What?
I was like,
Who is your
Grant
friend?
Holloway's not the one. I said, Grant Holloway is not the one who's going to fall apart. Yes, there will be a heavy favorite that will fall apart. Not all the heavy favorites will win, but Grant Holloway is not one of them. And he's like, oh, okay. I gave him a different person who you can
Has your
guess who
friend
I
watched
gave him,
track?
but yeah, my friend watches track. Yeah, but
Do
my
I know
friend
this
also
person?
might be, yes, you know this person. My friend might
Okay.
also not watch it as much, just because just assume, oh, Grant Holloway, everyone talks about him. He's the one who's going to lose, you know.
Listen, NCAA championships are not the same as the Olympics, obviously, but he was 6 for 6 in finals there. And that last one was under a lot of pressure from Daniel Roberts. And we knew that was probably going to be his last year. And in his last race, he broke the collegiate record and beat Daniel Roberts. And he goes on to win the world title that year. There's not many times when Grant Holloway hasn't lived up to the hype. And I think he's so much better than everybody that he could have a bit of a off race. Things don't need to go perfect for him to win. I think in 2019, things had to go really well for him to win, especially his time from after NCAA's until Doha was a bit bumpy. He lost some races in there. This is entirely different, Grant Holloway, and the field is entirely different. And I think, like I said, if he runs 1294, he's gonna be clear after a couple hurdles, and we're just gonna be
Yeah.
watching the clock.
The next best runner was around 1306. It's a long
Yeah,
time between 1306 and 1281.
yeah,
However, let's say this: if the Japanese athlete Izumaya, as I say his name right,
mm-hmm. Yep,
imagine him defeating Grant Holloway in Japan. Like that would, I mean, if there were fans, that would be like the craziest like upset to take down
yeah.
the person you thought was about to break the world record, and you did it in your home country. That would be a wild situation, but it's just not happening. It's not happening.
I like how you said if there were fans, just to
Yeah.
kick me while I'm down here. That really made me feel bad, Gordon. Medal odds for US. I have 90%. Might even be a little low because I think Allen and
90%?
Roberts both.
Hold on. You said there's a 10% chance Grant Holloway doesn't medal?
Yeah, maybe it's 5.
Really?
Maybe it should be 95. I don't put it in the 99 tier like I do with women's 4-meter hurdles, where you have two up there who could get the gold because Allen and Roberts, I think, have a shot at a medal, but I think it's a longer shot. And so you're just saying, hey, is Holloway going to get top 3? It's still the hurdles after all. 90% is pretty good chance. Okay,
That's true.
4-meter hurdles. Some are calling this the best race of the meet. We get Warholm versus Benjamin for the third time. Did you know, Gordon? Warholm has not lost for 3 seasons. He's got a 15 race win streak in the 400-meter hurdles. The end of 2018 was his last loss. 19, 20, and 21. He's been perfect. Got the world record this year, 46.70. Rai Benjamin, number 3 all time, 46.83 that he ran at the trials, was silver to Warholm in Doha, but they have not raced this year. Also in the mix, Alison Dos Santos has run 47.34. Abdurrahman Samba, who of course got bronze in Doha and was the man in this event before Warholm took over. And then Chiron McMaster. I think this is going to come down to these two guys, and it's awesome that we get to see it. I wish we'd see it more, but Olympic final with Warholm and Benjamin, I think it's gonna live up to the billing. I think it's gonna be another close race. I think that Warholm will be considered the favorite, obviously. I don't know. Like I've picked Benjamin a couple times the past couple years, and obviously, uh, I've been wrong. actually the past year, 2019. I picked him a couple times to beat Warholm, and I've been wrong. So, what do you expect to see from this race?
I expect Rai Benjamin to win. And I expect that to happen because while Carson Warholm is the world record holder, 46.7 and 46.83, their two respective times, to me just feels equal. You know, I don't look at Warholm as he's in a different tier as Benjamin. I really think they're in the exact same tier. Now, Warholm, though, while in the same tier as Benjamin, has the better pedigree as he's won, you said, what, 15 straight races he's won?
Yep. Yep.
But, like, you lose eventually. And I think Benjamin, this is his moment to end that streak. I think he's in position. I don't think Benjamin was in the same tier as Warholm going into 2019. I think it was a Warholm tier. And if Benjamin wanted to beat Warholm, he first had to join his tier to then beat him. He has now joined the Warholm tier. And now that he's there, now he has a legitimate shot of pulling off the upset. And I think it will happen. Now, you could say I'm a little biased because I was born in the US of A. Rai Benjamin American, so maybe that's why. But I look at 46.83, 46.70. They're both extremely all-time in the world history type marks. Put them together on the track, I think there's an equal 50-50 chance for Warholm Benjamin. Maybe you give Warholm a 58% to 42% for Benjamin because of the pedigree, but it ain't no 75-25 or 2/3, 1/3. It is as close to 50-50 as you can get for who they are. That's my thoughts. So I think Benjamin wins, and I'm going to put a lot of money on his plus 250 to win. So let's make it happen.
I don't think it's 50-50. I don't think it's a crazy bet to bet on Benjamin, but I think it's a well-earned 60-40 just because Warholm always brings it, and he's brought it the last couple of years. And we saw Doha. I know that was 2 years ago now, but he handled himself when he did face off against Benjamin. What do you think? I mean, what are the odds that these two don't go 1-2 in some order? Dos Santos has been good, but Dos Santos just has he's like Femke Bol. He just happens to be, he's competing in the wrong era, basically.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's no odds, I don't think. They have to go 1-2. I mean, it would be a false start or a fall. It would be a DNF or DNS. They're either going to be 1 or 2 or DNF or DNS. They're not going. None of them are finishing third or fourth or fifth. So
please don't curse. Please don't curse it, Gordon. I think Dos Santos.
What's that? Please
Dos
don't
Santos
curse.
Don't curse them. Don't. You can't. No.
Don't curse.
You're like the only thing that could possibly happen is a DNS, and there's no way I can think of anything. By the way, do you ever spend time heading into the major championships thinking about what the insane story is going to be that we don't see coming? I mean, by its very nature, you don't see it coming, but it just, in 2016, you never would have told me there would have been a diving controversy at the Olympics in track and field. Like, you could not have convinced me that that's what we would spend a lot of time talking about. And I know there's something coming, and I don't know what it is.
There was in a swimming event, I forget what it was. There was someone who had like 50-1 odds to win, and they won. Do you know who this was? Someone in the comments might know. But
it made me think the 17-year-old from Alaska in the breaststroke?
No. It was like this. It was a black athlete who won swimming gold. Who was it?
I'm not sure. Anyway, keep going.
Anyway, he was not favorite at all. Like, he was 50-1 odds. And I try to think, like, would that ever happen in track? Would someone who is like has no reason, hasn't had any notable win, their PB is out of the top 20, finds a way to win a track race or a field event? Like, do you think that could happen? Or what do you think? Can you think of any recent memory of someone so far out of left field winning a track race?
Winning gold is like medaling, yes. Winning gold
Yeah.
is different. I will be interested to see. So like Guliev jumps out to me, 2017 200. Like that one jumped out to me as like, wait, what happened here? And part of that was because the just the circumstances of that event and the nature of the 200. I think it'll be fun to look back at the end and to see who the longest like who was the longest shot to win and who actually got it done. Will be fun. I mean, Boss, obviously, we've talked about him. Simpson in 2011 winning gold. I felt was obviously a stunner. The Cobe from American perspective, the Coburn Frericks 1-2 combo. I mean, but they were known commodities. Do you have anybody?
Yeah, so I figured out who the athlete was in swimming. It was Ahmad Hafanoui. He was a Tunisian athlete. He's 18 years old. And I'm looking into, so he competed in 2019 at like World Junior Championships. In 2019, he was ranked 100th in an event. And then in 2021, he won the Olympics. So like, can you think of anyone in 2019 who's ranked 100th in their
ranking?
event? Yeah. No, not, I don't know. Maybe it's time. I don't know how they do it. But like,
is it real ranking?
It's someone who has ranked 100th, and then 2 years later they're winning, and they're only 18. It's wild.
Yeah, we've had some people come out of nowhere.
He was ranked 16th in the world and was the slowest qualifier into the final. So imagine someone who slow qualifier into the final, 16th in the world, and then they win. That would be wild.
That's particularly strange because it's not just, hey, you were under the radar, but hey, you didn't even have a good prelim. So you just had the race of your life in the final. Someone in the chat mentions women's 800 in Doha, unexpected gold.
Yeah.
From
Shoot.
Halim Nakai. Yeah. And there's been some people who pop up out of nowhere, but usually you could trace back and you can at least find one time and you say, that's why they won. But for someone to go and qualify that low out of the prelim into the final or the semi into the final and then make it is nuts. Okay, let's keep this moving here.
Sorry.
We got it's all good.
Let's do relays.
50
relays.
Okay, so you're saving the distance for last?
Yeah, all right, we'll go back to distance and we'll end with relays. How about that? We'll go to 1500 and then we'll end with relays.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much on distance. Well, let's just do steeple while we're here since we're talking about people jumping over things real quick. Okay, this one is a mess. Steeple. I looked at your rankings and this one's a bit of a mess just because I don't know who Ethiopia is going to send. They were doing the top 3 from trials, but their top 2 steeplers didn't steeple at trials. And then I saw that 2 of them, those 2 were back in their pool of 4 athletes, which means at least one of them is going to run. And they ran in, who was it? Gurma ran in Monaco and won in 801. So I don't know. The big stat here to follow is Kenya has won the last 9 Olympic steeple golds, and then they are in trouble.
Yeah, that's not happening.
That to 10. Because the top Kenyan entrant is 805, Abraham Kibiwat, and he was second in Monaco. So he could win. But then behind him, you have 2 guys who haven't run under 8:10 this year. So regardless of who Ethiopia sends, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And then you throw in El Bakali of Morocco, and it's going to be tough for Kenya to extend that streak.
Yeah, I think El Bakali is one of my non-heavy favorites that I'm most confident in. If that makes any sense. Obviously, you could be confident in a Mondo or a Bromell or Ryan Krauser. But El Bakali doesn't really have the pedigree to be the heavy favorite, but I am most confident in this non-heavy favorite. I think he's shown that he has great wheels. He can kick. He has had some flat 1500s that are decent, and he's been in the event long enough that he knows how to do it. And like we said, there's no crazy dominant other force that's running out of their mind in sub-8 type performances,
Yeah.
that I think his 758 to 802 type ability is going to be enough to win. And with the kick, I don't see anyone taking him down. So I'll go with El Bakali as my non-heavy favorite, most confident athlete.
He won in Florence. He ran 808, which is solid. I agree with you. I think 759 is going to win this. 801 is probably going to win this. It hasn't been a banner year for the men's steeple. So I think a time like that will be good enough. I think, especially if Ethiopia doesn't end up running some of their top guys, I think there'll be some openings there. So keep an eye on that streak for Kenya. I have the U.S. medal odds in this event at 10%. The team is Hillary Bohr, Bernard Keeter, and Mason Furlick.
Yeah, I have Bohr ranked 5th in the FloTrack rankings. No other U.S. athlete in the top 10. I think in order for Keeter or Furlick to be top 10, they're going to need to be able to show that they can be like sub 815 shape to be top 10. I don't know if they will. Maybe they have a breakout. They peaked well for an August final, and they can find a way to sneak into, sneak into the final. I mean, it kind of reminds me of like Don Cabral. Don Cabral was never like a world beater. Didn't really have the greatest of marks, especially when you compare him internationally. But Don Cabral always found a way to make a final at the international events. So maybe Furlick or Keeter can do that. We know Bohr will be in the final, and Bohr will be in it with the lap to go. The problem is there'll probably be 5 to 6 athletes with the lap to go, and I just don't see him finding a way to be one of the 3 that are still in it with 20 meters to go.
Yeah.
I think Bohr will get dropped in the backstretch. That's what I think will happen.
If you're not in it with 20 meters to go, hard to come back from that. That's what they say. All right.
Yeah, I think they printed T-shirts with that saying.
The greatest comeback of all time. That's more impressive than being the last qualifier and winning gold. Okay, let's jump to the 1500 right now. Timothy Cheruiyot, the favorite 2019 champion. The Kenyan trials was the only blip on the year for him. He won his last 2 races, including a personal best in Monaco where he ran 3:28.28. Jacob Ingebrigtsen is entered in the 15 in the 5. It's going to be a tough double to do, so I will be watching whether or not he scratches one of them. If he does run this race and he wants to win gold, he's going to have to get his first win over Cheruiyot in history. He's 0 for 10 all time against Cheruiyot. 0 for 10, including a loss this year in Monaco where he finished 3rd. He was 4th in 2019. His best performance this year actually comes in a 5K when he ran that 12:48 in Florence. Stuart McSwain from Australia, 3:29, been solid this year. Lewandowski got the bronze in the last World Championships. Then you have people like Charles Sumatwa and Abel Kipsang of Kenya. And the Americans, Centro, Hawker, Nagus. This one's going to be fun. I think Cheruiyot is going to win. If Ingebrigtsen isn't there, then it's going to be really wide open for the remaining medals, though.
Yeah, do you think there's a chance Ingebrigtsen won't be there? I think he's entered in 15 and 5. I mean, the only way he'll pull out of the 15 is if he wants to just go all in and be a super fresh for the 5K.
Okay, I'm looking at the chat right now, and someone said Jacob scratched the 5K. So
really?
Yes. It was going to be tough to do both. The way they had them stacked up, the finals were back-to-back days.
That opens up the 5K like major.
Yeah. Okay. Whew. Yep. I'm seeing this tweet from 6 hours ago from Athletics Wiki. Jacob Ingebrigtsen will only compete in the 1500 and it's not taking part in the 5000. 5000, we'll get to it in a second, is just, it's going to be a gauntlet. Is going to be ridiculous. I'm guessing he thinks, hey, yeah. Okay. So medal odds versus gold medal odds are 2 different things. And I think,
yes,
well, no, but one can be better in one than the other. I think his chances of beating Cheruiyot, his chance of getting a gold is higher in the 5K. because I think he can beat the top dogs there. But I think his chances of medaling in a way,
Are
like if
higher
his
in the
like,
15.
does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It's weird how that works, but it makes sense.
Yeah. Chariot is better than any is better relative to his event. I think is a more formidable foe than the 5K because Cheptegei is in the 5,000 and Ingebrigtsen beat him in Florence and everybody else when he ran that 12:48. And you could say, all right, well, that's a tactical, or that wasn't a tactical race. It's going to be different. Well, Cheptegei's best chance to win is to push it from the
Yeah.
front. So that was his best scenario for winning. And not only did he beat him, he beat Katir, he beat all these other big names, Mohamed. So that was the best 5,000 meter race of the year, and he won it. So that's why I thought he might go to the 5K. But him in the 1,500 obviously makes the 1,500 a bit deeper, a bit more interesting. I'm picking Chariot to win. I think you got to be pretty risky to pick anything else going against history.
Yeah. One thing I think is interesting is guess who has the third best odds behind Chariot and Ingebrigtsen to win?
Centro?
Nope. Keep
McSwain?
guessing. Nope.
Josh Kerr?
Keep guessing.
No, they had him
Nope.
way down there.
Keep
Well, I'm
guessing.
assuming it's somebody. I'm assuming it's somebody we talk about here. Is it Cole Hawker?
Yes.
Oh wow,
Plus 1,700.
bold. Wow,
Cole Hawker.
plus seven,
Plus
plus
1,700.
1,700. That sounds about right. Plus 1,700, but for him to be the third best
Well, it's
odds
because
is
second odds is Ingebrigtsen with plus 250. So they clearly don't think anyone in the right mind is finishing top two outside of those two, Chariot and Ingebrigtsen. Hawker's medal odds are plus 300. So what do you, okay,
that's
so here we
aggressive.
go. Who has a higher finish? Cole Hawker or Matt Centrowitz? Now that we've seen what Centro did in his mile, who do you think will have a higher finish? And if they do have a higher finish, do you think that higher finish will be medal?
Let me answer your question with another question. How do you think
Okay.
this race is going to play out with Timothy Chariot in it?
I think it's going to be fast.
Yes, I agree. I'll go with Centro. I'll go with Centro. Look at the track record here. He's made 6 of 7 global finals. He gets to the final and he finishes way high up. I think the 349 was him preparing himself for the chariot type race. So I'll take Centro as the first American, but I think he'll be out of the medals. I think McSwain and Kerr are being really overlooked based on their seasons.
Yeah, Kerr just did a time trial where he ran a 146 800, but went out in like 55 and then closed in like 50. So that's pretty
Yeah.
impressive. Trying to show like, hey, being able, can you close hard off of a fast third lap? Yeah, I think Josh Kerr is being slept on. But you know who ultimately is the biggest person that we're all sleeping on? Marcin
Lewandowski.
Lewandowski.
Lewandowski. Yeah, Poland.
Lewandowski.
Yeah, bronze. And
He is
he's a
he's
former
gonna
800
medal.
guy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
It's gonna
I
happen.
think yeah, Chariot, Ingebrigtsen, Lewandowski, McSwain, Kerr, I think are my guys up front. I think those will be that'll be the group that gets the medal. I know I like narrowed it down to 6 for the medals. It's like here's a long list of names and all these people can medal, but you look at McSwain's year, it's really good. You look at Kerr's. We're getting excited about Centro's 349 mile. Kerr ran a 331 800 much earlier in the season.
Yeah.
McSwain
And
was
I don't
334 in his championships. He lost to Jai Edwards, then third in Gateshead, second in Doha, one in the Bislett Games, and fourth in Monaco. He got second in the 3K at Gateshead that was super fast with Kajelka. He's pretty much in the mix in every race he runs, McSwain.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how the first 2 rounds play out. Like, luckily, I think, hopefully, I'm not sure how this works with the odds, uh, but I can wait through the first 2 rounds before I have to make my bet. Right? They don't close
Mhm.
off the betting odds before the prelims, do they? That wouldn't make any sense.
I have no idea. I have no idea
Yeah,
how. No, I would
they
guess they
gotta
would
let
take
me
it all the
wait
way
till
up
the
to the.
final, because once I watch
Well, they'll change them. Yeah.
that semifinal, the odds will change, but I'll be able to really understand who I truly think can be the person to kind of sneak into that top 3 with Cherry and Ingebrigtsen. So, but I'm agree with you. I think
Also,
Cherry's going to win, and I think Ingebrigtsen will get second.
okay. Next question: which country will do the best? If we were scoring this by country, let's say
Ooh.
top. You can run 3, but top 2 score. So you got Kenya with Cherry, Samatwo, and Kipsang. You got Norway with Jacob and Phillip. You have Australia with McSwain, Hoare, and Jai Edwards. You have the UK with Kerr, Waitman, and Hayward. They got a Josh and 2 Jakes. And then the US has Centro, Hawker, and Nagoose.
Now that would be a fun thing to bet on, right? That would be fun to like bet on which country scores the most cross country. Like you score at 10, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, like NCAA scoring
Sure.
style, which country would win? I mean, Kenya is in good position, right?
They got
Because
a
they're
low
going to get 10
stick.
points. They got a low stick. Norway, I don't see the other Ingebrigtsen doing that well, so I'll take them out. US, I think, could put 3 in the final, but I don't see them having multiple guys in the top half of the race. I think only maybe one of them will be in the top half. So they're kind of, I don't know yet. Great Britain, I think, could put 2 people in the top half. Australia, I also think could put 2 people in the top half. So if I had to rank it, I probably would go Kenya, Great Britain, Australia, US. That would be my
That's
ranking.
fair. So to go back to the last championships, Kenya was 1st and 7th. Norway only had 1 in the final. Great Britain win 5, 6, 11, which is solid. And then the US went 8 and 10. Watch out for Australia. Oliver Hoare has been solid this year. I know he's racing
Yes.
really hard to get on the Aussie team, but he put out some times there that I think are going to prepare him to win this, or sorry, not to win this, to compete in this type of race with Cherry, gunning for it. I'm interested in the Ingebrigtsen decision, because now we go to the 5K, Gordon, and you have to talk about the world record holder, Jeptegei, but you're also going to mention that he lost this year and hasn't raced a whole bunch. He hasn't raced since he got 6th in Florence, so that doesn't necessarily inspire much confidence. Mohamed Katir of Spain. This is his year, Gordon. These
It
are his
is.
splits. 328, 727, 1250. Looks pretty sharp. Also, Jacob Kiplimo from Uganda. World half champ. He ran 726 and 1248 last year. This year he's running a 1255 5K and a 2633 10K. Ethiopia, they had a 1253 from Wale, who, again, we don't know if he's running the steeple or the 5K or both. And then a 1254 from Malik at their champs. Mohamed was 1250 this year. Then you got Chalimo, Knight, Nicholas Kameli, Benyo of Kenya, Grant Fisher, Woody Kincaid round out the U.S. team. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen here. Now with Ingebrigtsen out, this thing opens up a bit for everybody else, because I was feeling good about his ability to Ingebrigtsen's ability to kick off of basically any pace, and now that won't be in this race.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at when I made the 5K rankings, it was basically a classic kick rankings. Who has the best kick ranking in my mind?
Yeah.
And Katir clearly has shown he can kick on a fast time or a slow time. Chalimo, I think's performance at the trials showed that he can close well and has a kick. Kincaid, I think potentially could have beaten Chalimo if he had better position based off seeing his kick in the 10K. So I think Kincaid is a medal threat with his kick. Cheptegei obviously is the world record holder. And then after that, I think it's just a wild card with Justin Knight, Whale, Kiplimo, Ahmed, Gressier. I think the Frenchman, Jimmy Gressier, he can kick. He's run like 335 or 334 in the 15.
Mm-hmm.
But I think now with no Ingebrigtsen, we could potentially get 2 Americans on the podium. And I think those 2 would be Chalimo and Kincaid. I think it's possible, man.
Whoa.
It's possible. I could see a Katir, Chalimo, Kincaid. I think a Katir, Chalimo, Kincaid top 3 is 100% possible. 100%.
I had the odds of medaling at 10%, but that was before Ingebrigtsen. I'll bump it up a little bit. Yeah, man. These, like, Mohamed is legit. He got bronze in 2019, 1250 this year. Like I said, 1247 PB. It's going to be tough to get past him. One of these, the Ethiopian qualifiers is going to come to play out of that group. There's too much sub 13 talent there. Kiplimo, I mentioned how good he is from everything to 3K to half marathon. I think that the U.S. will be lucky to get a medal in this event. I'm guessing Cheptegei is gonna get right, but even if he doesn't, you could see a Katir, Kiplimo, Ahmed podium, and that's not even including the Ethiopian contingent.
Well, here's the thing: most of the people who are in that 2019 final are not here. Like Ethiopia sent a completely different team.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
What
I'm saying
what
one
people
of them's
did in
gonna pan
2019
out.
means nothing. I think what happened in 2019 doesn't mean anything. I'm telling you, man. Don't be surprised if there's 2 Americans. If not 2, then they're going 3-4 or something like that.
I will be surprised.
You'll be surprised?
I literally will be surprised. Yes. I will be 100% surprised if there are 2 Americans.
So will you be surprised if Chalimo medals?
Yes, I'll be surprised.
You'll be surprised if Chalimo medals.
Yeah.
Why don't you have confidence in Paul Chalimo?
Well, didn't you ask him in your interview, hey, should I bet on you? And he said no. So there's that part of it.
There was that, but he did say he did tell me to bet on him for top 3, which I will, and he's plus 200 for top 3. So maybe Paul was just trying to like help me out with like, trying to make me so I don't lose all my money. He's looking out for me by saying only bet on me top 3.
Again, you got it's a very deep event right now. And I understand that it may not come down to who has the fastest PB, but if you run 12:55, I'm going to, well, if you run, if it might though, if Cheptegei gets after it from the gun and says, I'm going to try to run 12:40 pace, which he can do because he's done it before. If he's in that type of shape, he's going to drag everybody else along. But then you also have the fact that, again, like I mentioned, these were the Ethiopian trials: 12:53, 12:54, 12:58. Okay. Kenya's sending guys that is sending a guy, Daniel Abenwo, who's run 12:55. Kiplimo, as I mentioned, has run 12:55 this year. Katir has run 12:50. Mohamed has run 12:50. Ingebrigtsen not being there definitely makes it easier. If Cheptegei isn't the Cheptegei of last year, that makes it easier. But there's still just a huge group of people in the 1250s that you'd need to get past that would all need to have off days or bad days.
See, that's not true. That's not true. Because in my mind, Paul Chalimo and Woody Kincaid, aka William Kincaid, are both 12:55 runners in my mind. Just because they didn't do it in 2021 doesn't mean they're not 12:55 fitness. You cannot tell me.
Well, hold on. Chalimo did it in 2018.
Their heads, they don't.
You just told me that 2019 championships don't matter. So why would Chalimo's 2018 PB matter?
It's not about when they did it. I know that in 2021, if we told Paul Chalimo and Kincaid, I can even argue Fisher and say, hey, I need you to go out and run 12:55 right now. I think all 3 of them could be able to do it. I think the reason they haven't done it is because they haven't been told to do it. They had no reason in a year of the pandemic and 2021 to go out and go to a Diamond League and hop onto a fast 5K train. Chalimo's PB this season is like 13:26 or something like that. It's like shit. And the reason why is because
13:09.
there's no reason for him to have to run a sub 13 right now. And I think there was no reason for Kincaid to do it.
He went for
indoors,
what do you mean?
man.
He went for fast times indos. He ran 13. Well, those
No,
guys
I
ran
talked
faster
about
than
that.
him indoors.
No,
Those guys ran
that
faster than
13:09 was bull. I asked him about that. It was he just wasn't. He wasn't on his A game. That's just like, all right, he's had a bad day.
You're assuming
Chalimo and Kincaid
what are you
can
assuming?
run 12:55 tomorrow. Why am I assuming that? They closed in like 50 seconds off of in the 5K, and they both have shown that they have been able to run in there, albeit a few years ago. But there's a legitimate reason why these guys haven't run it this year is because of the pandemic and the way the season played out. They had no reason to try to PR in 2021. So they didn't. They didn't try to PR. Woody Kincaid ran in like the B heat at a Portland meet, right? Clearly, Woody Kincaid is not trying to run 12:55 at all in 2021 unless the US final asked for it or the Olympic final asked for it. So he's not going to waste a 12:55 on some random Diamond League meet. And same with Chalimo. They are fit enough to run that. Like you can't, they're not like old age and has-beens and they haven't like their peak is over. Like they're still in their prime. They just haven't had an incentive to try to run an all-out 5K. They've only had incentives to do sit and kicks. And now they'll have an incentive to run an all-out 5K because an Olympic medal will be on the line. And I think both Kincaid and Chalimo will be able to handle opening 60-second quarters. Like I think they'll be able to handle it.
But they have run all-out 5Ks in the past. They may not have done it this year, but they've run them. And they haven't been as fast as these other guys.
Okay.
What type of race do you think this is going to be?
Do you want me to do it? Do you want me to do it? What was different 2 or 3 years ago than it is now?
What was different 2 or 3 years ago than it is now?
Yeah.
Pandemic?
What were people having on their feet 2 or 3 years ago compared to what they're having on their feet now?
Oh, you want to do shoes? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't want to have that. I don't want to have that conversation. But
it is a thing.
What type of race?
The reason we're having a lot of fast times is because it's shoe technology. So I think if you put that shoe technology on there when they ran that 5K in the woods, I think we get the same result.
I know, but anyway. you're acting like Kincaid and Chalimo haven't tried to run fast at all the last 2 years on any circumstance, and that's just not true. Kincaid's been in these fast 10Ks. He's in a fast 10K, and he goes 27:12. That's good. Is that good enough to medal?
10K is different. 10K is different.
No, it's
right, whatever.
But it gives you an idea. When you're going against a guy who in your same race, Jacob Kiplimo, who's run 12:55 and 26:33, your 10K PB does matter a little bit. If you want to compare all-out efforts. Do you think this is going to be fast from the gun or not with Cheptegei in there? I think it is.
We're talking about the 5K right now? We're talking about the 5K.
Yeah, we're talking about the 5. Yeah, we're talking about the 5K.
Yeah, I think it'll be fast. And I think I talked to Chalimo. He says he thinks he's going to be fast, but he says he's ready to run that pace. He just hasn't been incentivized to run 12:50 pace. And same with Kincaid. Now, okay, they could blow up and they'd be like, "Oh, I had never been here before," but
I mean, did you watch 2019?
Justin Knight's run 12:50. I think Justin Knight's the same category as Kincaid and Chalimo. Knight had the opportunity to run fast.
Did you watch 2019 World Championships? I mean, Lincoln was there with me, not you. But did you tune in to see those races at all?
A little bit.
Okay. I mean, the 5K was pretty. They went. I mean, 12:58 was a winning time. So it might even be more aggressive this time, but Chalimo ran 13:04, right? And he was the top American. I think it's deeper. I think it's even tougher this year than it was back then.
That's why they run the race, to prove me wrong or prove you right, right? That's what's going to happen.
If the U.S. gets 2 medals in the men's 5K, I will run to your house carrying an American flag. That's what I'll do.
Really? You
100%.
gotta do that. How
Yeah.
far away is your house from my house? It's a couple miles.
I don't know.
Oh, we gotta film
It's
that.
no, it's
That'll
more.
be fun.
It's more than that.
Turn it into a little
It's more than
video.
that.
Put a
I
GoPro
think
on your head.
it's. I'll do it in the middle of the day too in Texas, so it'll just be
Yeah, you do it in the heat.
it'll be sweltering. If they get one
I'm
medal, it would
excited.
be a huge success. Huge success. Okay, 10K, 10K, and then relays. Let's go. Here we go. This is a long one. So you have Cheptegei and Kiplimo, the Ugandan duo, back in this race. Cheptegei's trying to defend his world title or build off of his world title from 2019. Ethiopia here, excuse me, Ethiopia here has more familiar names in this race
Yeah, they're stars.
with
Yeah.
Barega and Kajelka, which is going to make this race super interesting. It makes me wonder about the 5K because they didn't put Idris in there, and maybe we'd be looking at that 5K a little bit differently. They also have Berihu Aragawi, who was 26.50 at the trials. Kenya not as strong. That Kamor had to drop out, but Kiprutu tapped in. Remember, he ran 26.24 on the roads. This one, I think Americans have a better chance at a medal in some respects, but I still think they're going to be on the outside looking in. Cheptegei made this thing honest in Doha. I think he'd do the same thing here. I just don't know weather-wise what's going to happen. They're not going to have the air-conditioned stadium like they did in Doha, and if things are warm, it could change the dynamics of the race. This one's coming up in a couple days, though. This will be the first final we talk about.
Yeah, the FloTrack rankings has Cheptegei 1, Barega 2, Kajelcha 3, Kincaid 4, Ahmed 5, Kiplimo 6, Fisher 7, and then a few others.
Wait, let me look at these. Hold on. These are your rankings? Or the
These are my rankings. These are the FloTrack rankings, which also are my rankings because I work at FloTrack. So
these
they
are
go hand in hand.
These are actually not that
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, broken clock is right twice a day.
You're still sleeping on Kiplimo. I would probably put Kiplimo instead of 6. I'd probably put him 3rd and bump everybody else down. But if you're talking about a finishing order, yeah, these are not that bad. I'm curious to see Cheptegei because not racing after you had a off race. I wonder if he's going to be back and as good as ever, or if that was the sign that 2021 Cheptegei is a different guy than he was in 2020. But Kajelka and Barega are going to be solid. I actually like Kajelka is a good gold medal pick here because he's experienced and he's in really good shape right now. We know that because in the Bislett games he ran 7:26 in the 3K. So he can play the role a bit of Mo Farah here and just try to shadow Cheptegei if it goes out fast. And if they slow it down because it just becomes tactical, that's playing right into his hands. And if things stay quick, I think he can hang with him and then try to make that big move. So I like Kajelka here for the win.
Really? So
Yeah.
Kajelka is plus 200 to win. Cheptegei's plus 300. Kiplimo's plus 300. Barega's plus 400.
The favorite?
And then everyone else.
Kajelka's the favorite? Oh, I thought
plus
it was 200. Being a
200.
contrarian then. Okay, never mind. I changed my pick. I just wanted to be different. Just kidding. So they're seeing what I'm seeing. There's some smart, savvy odds makers out there.
Well, is Cheptegei's 12:54 6th place finish that bad?
It's not in and of itself, but when it's basically your only result, questions pop up.
You did run 7:33 in a 3K in May.
Yeah, but we're in a 7:20 world now, man. 7:33s are not what they used to be. It's just you see June 10th as the last race and you wonder. And that race really was him going out there trying to burn off the field, couldn't drop the field, and then everyone just flew by him, which is concerning for the Olympics.
Yeah. So I need to make my bet now. What?
Listen, go with the world record holder if you're making your bet. Don't listen to me. Go with the world record holder. You're getting him as not even the best odds. That seems like a good deal.
It does seem like a good deal. But now this is the problem with me betting. I'm always going to second guess my bet. Going into today's podcast,
Yes.
I was all in on just doing the $100 and Chep the guy to win. But now when you gave me this whole like, oh, well, he only ran since June and he got 6, I don't know. Now you're making me overthink it. So I don't know what I'm going to do. What do you think I should do?
I think if they're giving you plus odds for the world record holder, you should take them.
Yeah. Do you think I should go for a top 3 plus odds on Mohamed or Kincaid? They gave me plus odds for the top 3. Or no? Stay away from that? Should I
What
stay away
about
from
someone? What's Aragawi? Because I don't feel like a lot of people know much about him, but he ran 2650.
He's plus odds for top 3, and he's plus 1100 for winner. He's not going to win. All right, I'm going to do it. Here we go.
This is why I don't bet. I just get really confident about things I shouldn't be confident about, but never put my own money on the line.
That's okay, so we're doing it here. I'm going with Joseph Cheptegei. Putting $100 on him.
How about Joshua Cheptegei? Don't do Joseph Cheptegei.
Joseph, sorry.
He's
Joshua Cheptegei. Yeah, he's not in the race. Joshua Cheptegei. He's my first $100 bet of many to come. I may start off in the hole, or then I'll be up $300. If he wins, I win $300. If he loses, I lose 100.
To be clear, I think Kajelka's going to win. Just to clarify here. Wait, list them in order one more time. This is the first one. I should take this seriously. List them in order.
Yeah, take this seriously. The odds or my rankings, or what do you want?
Odds. I don't care.
Kajelka is plus 200. Cheptegei plus 300. Kiplimo plus 300. Barega plus 400. And then Mohamed Argugawa, I can't say his name. Aragawi are plus 1,100 each. And then it's chaos. And the only one with plus odds for, those two guys also have plus odds for top 3. So that's good.
My question to you is this. What's the difference between Barega and Kajelka? Because Barega beat him at the Ethiopian Championships. Barega finished ahead of him in Doha. I guess the only difference is Kajelka had that Bislett performance in the 3K. So if Barega's plus 400 and Kajelka's plus 200, maybe you take even a longer shot there.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be between Cheptegei and one of the Ethiopians, because I don't think Kiplimo's winning. So you eliminate him. So you're down to Barega, Kajelka, or Cheptegei.
I don't know.
I don't think Kiplimo's not winning.
I don't feel this is tough. I don't feel this event is really wide open. There's all the sprints have a much clearer favorite than this. This is way more complicated than any of the sprinting events for me. And maybe it's just because the people have run less, so it's harder. All right.
We're doing it. We're going with Joshua Cheptegei, $100. Let's see how it goes. Put my money where my mouth is. Joshua Cheptegei for the win. All right. Final 2 events.
It's a bit worrying that Gordon is betting on someone he doesn't even know the name of. And I agree with you, Owen. Gordon should not be betting.
Okay, I know his name. I just solved. I said Joseph by accident. Josh isn't both. Sorry.
Yeah. All right. Relays.
I'm talking for an hour and 43 minutes. I'm bound to have a mess up. That's what happens.
Yeah. Okay. Relays. I got the U.S. medal odds in the 4x1 is 75%, which is basically just can they get the baton around. And 4x4, I have them at 99%. 4x4, I think they'll obviously be the huge favorite for the gold. Doesn't even really matter what happens in the 400. Botswana, South Africa, Jamaica should contend with them there. 4x1, we talked, I think, before about South Africa being in the mix for a medal. They should be pretty solid. They have a lot of, with Simbine, with Leo Talea and Maswangani, they have a pretty solid top 3. But the U.S. with Bromell, Baker, Curly, and then fourth leg TBD. Could be Noah Lyles. We don't know. They should win, but it's should until they get the baton
Yeah,
right.
so
We don't know.
obviously 4x1.
You're betting on
and
if the
4x4.
baton gets around, basically.
Yeah, US are heavy favorites in both. We talk about this on the women's side. Let's put together now what we officially think the team should be. 4x1, I think they're clearly obviously going to take Curly, Bromell, and Baker. Who do you think they give the fourth spot to? Do they give it to like Michael Williams? Or, like, who do you think they give it to?
I think if Lyles looks good, you put Lyles on the second leg.
You think they'll give it to? You think they'll give it to Lyles?
I think if he looks good in the 200, they'll put him in there.
Okay, but what if Kenny B beats him? And they put Kenny B.
If Kenny B beats him, then put Kenny B on there. I think they like the continuity of someone who's done it before, and I get that like Mike Rogers and Christian Coleman are not on the team, and Gatlin's a whole different team. I think they like having someone holding over, but I don't know. That one is 4x4 to me is easy. It's gonna end up being Norman, Ross, Cherry, and then Rai Benjamin. I think that one's pretty much gonna be set in
No
stone
Fred Curly.
Somebody has a really
they won't put Fred Curly on it.
No, I don't. I mean, he hasn't run a 400 this year, right?
No, he's run one.
Oh, that's right. He ran one, and
Yeah.
Doha and got what he. Oh no, he ran 3. My apologies.
Yeah, he ran a couple.
One of them was in. One of them was indoor. So he ran 44.6 and then 44.74. No.
So
I think
here's the thing
with the 400-meter pool.
Here's the issue we have with this 4x1. Fred Curley's going to be on the team, but Fred Curley cannot run the curve. He's too big. So they need to put Fred Curley either anchor or second leg. However, a lot of times you want to put your best athlete second leg, right? So
yes,
I think US 4x1 has a Fred Curley conundrum. What do you do with him? Because do you put him anchor? Because then you like, oh, well, Bromell should be the anchor. Do you put him second? Because then you're like, oh, but Noah Lyles, he's a 200-meter runner. He can run that backstretch. What do you think they do with Fred Curley?
I guess you could go Baker out the blocks to Bromell.
Yeah, I think Baker starts.
To Lyles on the curve, have Lyles run third on the curve, and then have Bromell anchor. So that way you have Curly and Bromell in the straightaways. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're going to do
if
Baker
what was the I'm now
to
I'm
Curly. I think they're going to do Baker to Curly to Lyles to Bromell. That's what I think they're going to do. What do you think?
I'm looking at the I'm trying to look at because I remember their order was different than I thought it would be in 2019, and I'm blanking on it right now. 4x1 Coleman, let's see, jeez, Coleman, Gatlin, Rogers, Lyles. So I never would have guessed like they'd put Rogers on the curve, but they did. So they had Lyles anchor before, but if they put Lyles in the anchor here, then yeah, you got to figure out either Bromell or Curly's going to have to run on a curve.
You don't put Curly on the curve. That's all I know. They can't do that. That'll be a bad move. Got to put Curly either anchor or second leg. Watch, they're going to put Curly on the curve, and then there's be a baton drop.
But then you have this issue where you have 3 people for the straightaways.
Yeah. I mean,
you got Lyles, Bromell, and Curly that you'd want to have on the straightaways.
I don't think they have a worry about needing Ego to be anchor. Like, I don't think Bromell cares where he is. I don't think he's like, I need to be anchor. I don't think Lyles really cares whether or not he's anchor or not. So I think that's one good thing they have is I don't think anyone has like, I need to be this for me. I think the only thing they just need to do is make sure Curly isn't curve because he's too big for it. You got to put him, either second leg or anchor. Put Curly anchor. That'll be fun. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Put Curly on the anchor. Team Curly anchor. That's what I want. So we talked about the 4x4. Any chance Grant Holloway makes an appearance?
I know you're gonna go with that. If you listened, we just posted an interview on the site, latest episode on the Run, the show hosted by Serenity Douglas. She interviewed Grant Holloway. She asked him about the relay, and he said he considers himself the best fifth man in the world. Basically, the top four are established, but if you need somebody to come off the bench, he'll do it. The schedule isn't that great for him because he said the high hurdles are the same day basically as the 4x1 round 1 is right before the high hurdle prelims or high hurdle final. Excuse me. It's like back to back. So he couldn't do the prelims. So you'd have to basically, he could run around at the 4x4. I think the 4x4 is, there's too many other people that they would consider before him. And then the 4x1, you'd have to throw him in for the final. So I don't think that that's going to happen unless there's an emergency. He was
I just want to see
it, but not as he's advocated stronger for it in the past, is what I'm saying. I think he basically knew I'm just going to take care of the high hurdles these Olympics. So
I just want to see a weird championships where you have like, you have Grant Holloway doing the 4x1 and the 4x4. You have Michael Norman in the 4x1. You have Fred Curley in the 4x1 and the 4x4. You just have all these guys who are just constantly cross-pollinating with each other on these relays because we have so many legitimate athletes who are really good in their individual events who I think can make a super 4x1 or super 4x4 as opposed to taking our fourth best open 100 runner or our fourth best open 400-meter runner.
Well, our fourth best open 100-meter runner in this case would be Bednarik, who could end up winning the 200. He's one of those combo guys that you described. A lot of this is just going to depend on what like we talked about with the women. A lot of this is just going to depend on what happens in the meet itself and who looks good, who's having a bad meet, injuries, all that's going to play in. So I think that the options will no doubt narrow as you go on, but I think you outlined one of the key issues. The reason I bring up 2019 is, again, Rogers, hey, do third leg. All right, cool. I'll do it. And they just plugged him in and he was fine. So I think people can adjust. I get your concern with Curly on the curve because of the 200-meter issues. So you'd want to keep him on the straight. And just the fact that he has that, like once he gets going, he's flying. So yeah, it would be.
I think Curly in second leg is going to be best.
And then Lyles on the curve, and then close with Bromell.
Yeah, I think that's what they end up doing.
Or do you close with Lyles and have Bromell? Bromell on the curve seems like you wouldn't want to do that either. You'd want to keep him on the straight.
No, close with Bromell. He's going to be coming off of winning the Olympic title. Just anchor with your Olympic champ. That's what you do. I guess they'll have two Olympic champs potentially, right? With Lyles, we'll see.
Yeah.
One last thing about the 4x1.
Mixed 4x4. People want to talk about the mixed 4x4, though. They want your
we'll get to it really quickly. I just want to say one more note about the men's 4x1. So the odds are USA is minus 200, then Jamaica is plus 250. Guess who has the 8th best odds with plus 5,000? South Africa.
Jamaica.
No, South Africa. Why is South Africa plus 5,000? Like they should be second or third best odds. I'm hoping that they give me ability
like
to.
You got your pick.
Well, I'm hoping they give me the ability to pick a top 3 because South Africa is finishing top 3 right now. They don't have those odds available, but if they do, I'm putting all my money on South Africa top 3.
Wait, hold on a second. Who do you think's the second best team?
South Africa.
Okay. So what % chance do you think something happens to the U.S.?
There is a % chance.
Right. So there's your $100. That's where it goes. That's not a hard one. That's way easier than the men's 10K pick.
True.
5,000 to 1.
Yeah. It's not
You're
5,000 to
gonna
1. It's 500 to 1. Or
500
50
to
to
1.
1. It's
Sorry,
50.
500.
It's 50 to 1.
Okay. Why'd you say 5,000?
You win $5,000 if I bet 100
Oh,
on South
yeah, yeah,
Africa.
yeah. Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
50 to 1.
Yeah,
Yeah,
50 to 1.
maybe I should just put like $50 on it just for the hell of it. Have some extra cash winnings so I can like hedge my if USA drops a baton, I'm going to win $5,000. That's pretty good.
Yeah. You can do
I'm
both.
going to do that. All right. Well, we'll get to those bets when we get to it. Final event, mixed 4x4, as Carl Lewis calls it, the clown event. There are no odds for it. USA is going to win, right? I mean,
No,
Jamaica's going to get second.
For it.
No odds.
Yeah.
I bet you the bigger prediction is who can accurately predict who will be on the relay team for the final of the 4x4. Like, who do you think they'll pick?
Oh,
so the event happens before the 400, right? It happens before the 400.
Yeah, it's the very beginning of the meet.
Do you think any of the open? They're not going to use any of that.
No.
Right?
No. It's going to be here. I'll tell you who it's going to be. It is going to be. Let me pull up my So they'll go. It'll be Ellis. You talking about the final?
Yeah, the final.
So they'll run Ellis and Whitney for the women's legs. And the men will be Stewart and Norwood.
So they're just going to pick the 4th and 5th place finish?
Yep, because 6 and 7 are going to run in the prelim. And then they'll swap out the team entirely. And they'll get 8 people gold medals. Everybody will go home happy.
So they won't try to give Norman, Cherry, Ross, Felix, Jonathan, or Hayes a medal?
No. Because they understand, as Carl Lewis said, this is the clown event, and they're not going to do an all-out for the men. It would be the day before the 400 starts.
What about for the women?
Open 4. For the women, it would be 2 days before. You're still not going to want to do it.
How many days is it before the 400-meter hurdles?
400-meter hurdles for the men or the women?
Both.
Men. Looks like it is. Women. Oh, it's bang bang. Oh, it's the same day. It's the same day for the women, and then for the men, it is the next day. It looks like.
All right. Last question? What about 800?
800 is for men. It's the same day.
For women.
For women's first round in the 800 is the same day. The day that starts day 1, so they have to run it on the prelim on day 1, and then the final is the same day as the 800 semifinal. So no, it doesn't work for any of that. This is tailor made for your 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th best people. That's what it's designed for. That's who you run. You don't overcomplicate it. If someone comes to you and really wants to do it, I guess you entertain that, but I don't think anybody looks at this event in that way.
Would another country try to recognize that, like, hey, USA is sending their B squads. Maybe if we go all in, we can win? Think another country like Jamaica tries that?
No, because they look at how good the US like B squad is. It's really good.
Sure.
And it's especially because you got to go 2 men, 2 women. I think it's gonna be. Jamaica would be the one. That could factor in there because their women's squad is pretty deep, but I think it's going to be US. I think they're gonna roll. I think they'll use the same process they did in Doha with the people coming off the bench. I could be wrong. I just don't think anybody's going to want to take that risk for their individual event. The women's 400 being a little bit farther away, would leave open the option for that event, but all the others are too close.
We just said 2 hours, man. 2 hours.
One more thing,
Podcast.
real quick. I said I'd give my overall medal projection for the U.S. I counted it last night. 34 is my number. 34 medals total for the U.S.
That's a pretty high number.
So if you want, yeah, it was higher than I thought it was, but there's not many events where they don't have somebody in contention. And if you think that the U.S. are going to get 2 medals in the men's 5K, then that number should probably be like 45 because they're getting 1-2 in a lot of events if they're getting 1-2 in the men's 5K. All right, we'll leave it there. Tune in early on Friday morning right after the action concludes in Tokyo. It'll be a 7 a.m. Central start, 8 a.m. East Coast, 5 a.m. out on the West Coast for our recap of the day 1 of Olympic action. Thanks to Alon for producing. Thanks to my co-host Gordon. Thanks everybody for tuning in live on YouTube. We'll talk to you guys soon. Enjoy day 1.